Hi, so this is the first video in the macro photography experiment. I think that's the best way to say it. An experiment, I mean, I'm going to show the parts that I'm going to use it, probably over 4 or 5 videos, but I actually have not ever made a nice macro photo yet, at least not with these new tools. So in a way I will show what I have found online that they say works. I got the different parts, I made this video, or I'm making these videos, and then I will go out and try if they actually works. So again, it's all in the idea of sharing things with you that might be useful. So let's get going. So the first part is I will slowly show the different parts in different videos, and maybe by the end show everything together. But the first part, of course, is a lens, right? So we are still using the A6500 over here, and the lens that I bought is actually considered one of the best macro lenses, at least it is the best for Sony at the moment, and probably also one of the best around. It's the 90mm f/2.8. It's a full frame E-mount lens, and the nice thing about it, and the reason why I got it, although it's not cheap, it's also not silly expensive for 100mm or 90mm lens. Considering all the other new lenses coming out, if you exclude the new one, the fe90mm, most of the 85 lenses are quite expensive. So for me, I think this is a good compromise between having a fast 90mm portrait lens and maybe landscape lens and a real macro lens. This is also one of the sharpest lenses tested so far. It's extremely sharp. On a full frame sensor, it got about 42 megapixels, which if you like DSO mark is I think the second sharpest lens that they ever tested. So it's extremely sharp, and you will find reviews online, so I won't go into deep about it. One thing I really like is which I always like, is the focus button, which is the same as on some of the other lenses that Sony is now making. I think they decided to do it on all of them going forward, and I think that's a great idea. I personally always put it on, you can program it for anything. I've put it on zooming in, so magnifying, so that if you want to focus either manually or automatically, you can use that to push it. It will zoom in to a factor of 5 or 11, and then you can sharpen it up. Now the nice thing in combination with this lens is that it has both manual focus and autofocus, and you can flip it around like this. So now it's sort of in autofocus, you don't see this ring joining, but now it's in manual focus. Really nice way of doing it. So the size of the lens, it is quite big. So let's compare it so that you kind of have an idea to the 70-200. As you can see, it is smaller, but not by much. So if you take the hoods off, you will see that it becomes a little smaller, but it's by no means a small lens. So let's compare it to another one. Oh, this one goes here. So let's compare it to another one, and I think using one of the APS-C size lenses is a good way to compare it. So let's compare it to the, and again I will put the hood on to make it a fair comparison. So this is how it compares to the 24mm, right? So you can see it is actually quite a big lens, right? So again, if you take the hood off, you can clearly see the difference between these two lenses. It is by no means a small lens, but it's also not super big for what it is doing. So yeah, that's I guess all about the lens. Now this you could use to do macro photography. In fact, that's why they made it. So it allows you to do a magnification of a 1:1. So that means that at 28 centimeters, which we will get back to later, but it's probably about here, it allows you to, let's take my finger as a comparison, it allows you to display the finger on the sensor the same size that it actually is. So considering that the sensor in your camera is about this big on APS-C. That means that basically an object, let's say my thumb, is going to reach all the pixels of your sensor. That's probably the best way to say it. That means that you can spend 24 megapixels in this case on basically my thumb. So that tells you something about the detail that you can get and how far you can crop in. Because, well, if this is 24 megapixels and normally, let's say you take a picture and you are able to zoom into a fifth of the picture and still think the picture is acceptable, that now means that you can zoom into a fifth of the thumb in this case and still feel that you have enough detail. So I guess this is enough about this video. So the next video I will probably talk about the first, let's say, adaptation or extra part that I decided to buy to get into the macro photography and yeah, see if it works for me. So see you in the next video. See you soon.